Hey, it's Patrick, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install an AltRider Center Stand on this Yamaha Ténéré 700. For most adventure bikes, this is going to be a fairly similar install. Overall, it's a great option to have a center stand on your adventure bike, whether you're in the woods and you have an unexpected flat. It'll help you change it, get the bike off the ground, or if you just have it in your garage, you can put the bike up on the center stand, you can do chain maintenance, brakes, tires, things like that. Much more simple. Now, as far as the skid plate, you can tell we do not have a skid plate on this bike right now. This center stand will work with the OEM skid plate. There are a bunch of aftermarket skid plates out there. It may or may not work with your skid plate. You may have to modify it a little bit. It's worth noting that AltRider does make a skid plate that will work with the center stand. But for the install purposes, we've removed that. You will have to remove it for the install. This install can be done on your garage floor with the bike on the side stand if you'd like, with plain old hand tools. We'll put all of the tools we use today down below in the description. For us, we do have this nice handy lift, so we're gonna raise it up in the air and get to work. So we're gonna start on the rider's right side of the bike, and we need to prep our right side bracket, which is the bigger of the two brackets. First thing we need to do is drop this little rubber bumper up through what would be the bottom of this bracket, and there's a little nylock nut we're going to put on there. And we don't really have to like crank this down super tight. It is a nylock. We'll take our 10mm and we'll tighten this up and just get it good and snug on there. After this, we need to take our two long M10 bolts and two washers and slide those bolts through our bracket, through what would be the middle hole and the front hole. Now we can head over to the bike and install the bracket. Okay, we're gonna take a 12mm. We're gonna pull these two bolts out of our stock foot peg bracket. Then we're gonna take our M10s, throw a little bit of blue Loctite on there. We're gonna take a 17mm socket and install this in their place and torque it to 36 foot-pounds. So now we move back over to the left-hand side of the bike. Down here on the frame, we're going to take out these two 12mm bolts. You need a 12mm socket. We'll pull these out. Well, there could be a little bit of pressure on these because the frame is holding some pressure, but for the most part, they should come right out. After we pull those out, we're going to take our left side bracket. We have to put it on the inside of the frame. So you want this little tab sticking to the inside of the bike with the pointed piece of this bracket going up. And from there, I have a M10 screw with a washer slid through there with a spacer, and there's a blind hole on the inside of this frame that this will thread into. We want to thread that in there, but we just want to leave it like finger tight. We don't want to tighten it up yet. So before we put our bracket in there, I'm going to throw a little bit of blue Loctite on our M10. And when we put this up in here, it's not necessary, but it's helpful if you have a ratcheting wrench. Otherwise, you're just going to have to thread it in by hand until you can get a socket on it. But remember, don't tighten it up just yet. Okay, so next thing we have to do is we have to take these two M8 bolts. We're going to put our washer on each of them, and then we're going to thread them through the frame. Don't forget, this is threaded, so we have to thread these through there. As they come through the frame though, we want to slip these aluminum spacers in between the frame and the bracket we have on there. After these are threaded in there with the spacer on each one, we're going to torque these to 18 foot-pounds. After these are torqued, we're going to add this nylock nut to each one of those bolts on the back side of our bracket. We're going to hold this bolt and then torque the nylock to 18 foot-pounds also. Lastly, we'll go inside to that blind bolt we put in there, and if you can get a torque wrench on it, you want to torque that to 36 foot-pounds. So this inside bolt, I can't get my torque wrench in there. So it's up to you to use your best judgment. The old elbow torque wrench. When it feels like about 18 foot-pounds, stop. Last thing we have to do is take a 16mm and tighten up the bolt that we put in blind coming through. It gets torqued to 36 foot-pounds if you can get a torque wrench in there. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get ours in there, but we'll use the old elbow torque wrench and make sure we don't strip anything out. So next thing we need to do is prep our center stand. So we're gonna get the rest of our hardware and our center stand, bring it over to the bike, and get ready to put that on. So now we need to get our bushings set up on our center stand. We're gonna slide the bushings through from the inside. We're gonna grease them up before we put them in there. We're going to use our thrust washer on the right side. Basically, that's gonna space out the center stand so it doesn't rub on the shock linkage. It can actually go on either side. So if you put this on the right and it's rubbing, switch it over to the left. Once we have that set up, we can put the stand in place. We'll take our M10s with our washer, and we're gonna feed both of these through from the right side, meaning both bolts are gonna come through like this, from right to left. When they're in there and the thing's hanging in place, we'll check our clearances, then we'll come back, put our nylocks in, and tighten everything up. If you can get a torque wrench on these, you'll torque these to 36 foot-pounds. You'll need a 15 millimeter and a 16 millimeter. This will make my life just a little bit easier. Use the old-fashioned way without any ratcheting. All right, all that's left to do is go to the other side and put the spring on. All right, to wrap this up, we just have to put our spring on. We're gonna put the short end down on the center stand, and then we're going to pull this up and over this peg right here. They send a tool with to pull. It's not a bad tool, but we have one with a little bit beefier hook on it, so I'm gonna use that one. I'll also put a rag over this brake pedal because you really gotta put some leverage on this. You're gonna be pulling pretty hard. If it slips off, it's a good way to like bust your knuckles. So get this spring on. Also, probably not a bad idea to put some safety glasses on in case this goes sideways. You won't be a pirate for the rest of your life. Right? Okay. Every time. Boom. Overall, pretty simple install for a really functional piece for your motorcycle. Simple hand tools, you can have this done in under an hour in your garage and be doing all kinds of new projects with your fancy new center stand. Now, if you need more information about this, go ahead and hit that info tab on your desktop or mobile device. That'll take you to the product detail page where you can read other riders' reviews and more specs about this stand. Still looking for more information? Feel free to reach out to our customer service team. They would love to talk to you about what works best for you, your motorcycle, and your budget. I am Patrick. Thank you for watching. Go work on those motorcycles.